Hello, welcome to Davos Worldwide Summer 2023 event. We have some exceptional programming for everyone today, organized by Anand Sain and Annika Pompel. Davos Worldwide is constructed as a think tank globally that will allow people in different countries to create programming in separate hubs to try to answer the world's difficult questions, focusing on the solution. What we've seen with other think tanks or different collectives is they focus on the problem. What we've attempted to do here is assemble leaders in the space, thought leaders in the space, to try to figure out solutions for different problems. So I'll let Annika jump in and share a little bit more about Davos Worldwide and what we have planned today.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us at whatever hour and wherever you might be in the world. We've been doing Davos Worldwide in different iterations for a few years now, closely following some of the world's problems, updates, and solutions, like Sam just said. And we're very excited to have you guys today. We have wonderful panels with some of our favorite moderators and wonderful panelists and guests. We're very excited, and hopefully we'll see you on each and every one of them. Let me introduce you guys to Anand Singh, who will introduce himself and tell you guys all a little bit more about where the idea of Davos came from.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think that we've had a wonderful few years of moving with Davos Worldwide, as well as our iterations of Digital Davos, which we hold primarily in January, both live in Davos as well as online. And I think that, as Sam and Annika mentioned, our concept is to create solutions and to talk about solutions. One of the key things that we feel as a collective is that it has been a wonderful conversation to bring impact to sustainability. But at this time, I think that the need is to make impact investable, not just sustainable, so that there is a defined return on investment on impact. That makes it much more relevant for investors around the world to be able to participate and profit, and at the same time be able to create genuine change in the world. That being said, I wanted to go over a few of the panels today. What we will find today in today's programming is a scattering of various issues and when addressed by people from all around the world. So the first panel that we're going to have is going to be on sickle cell disorder, and specifically on the recent developments in India, where Honorable Prime Minister Modi has launched the sickle cell anemia eliminations mission, whereby the Indian government has pledged to eliminate this issue from India by 2047. So this task, from something which is a rare disease, was something that was largely ignored, has now become a central part of India's healthcare initiative, especially for tribal populations and the underclasses and underserved communities where this disease is most prevalent. The treatment, the testing and treatment of this program will be provided free by the government. So a Herculean task, starting with the initial testing of 70 million people, and the idea is to slowly test largely most of the population of India, and include some other measures. The second panel we will have is going to be live from Mykonos, and this panel is going to be a very interesting panel because it has to deal with data as a solution for the refugee problem. Paula Schwartz, Brittany Kaiser, Tirto Aji will lead this panel, and I think that and it'll be moderated by Sam Borghese, and this will be a glimpse of how we can use industry to solve a very difficult and complex problem by matching resources and opportunity for refugees around the world. We have a follow-up panel on sickle cell, and this follow-up panel is going to be about industry and how industry, global industry, can participate in the India sickle cell mission. So in that, we will have industry leaders from Novartis, from Emmaus, and from Hemex. And these are companies that have next generation solutions for the issues, for the sickle cell disease and its treatment. Once we're done with that, we'll move on to another panel, which is, I think, a very interesting conversation, and this is going to be a fireside chat, and this is going to be with Dr. Martin Moore-Eddy, who has been doing research, a former professor at Harvard and researcher at Harvard, and primary research in the area of circadian rhythm and the disruption created by blue light and light in general, artificial light in general. And some very interesting solutions on how to deal with this problem. Then we have Dr. Lance McCarthy, who will be speaking about fintech solutions for the growth of Africa and the role that African Americans are playing in this growth that we're seeing in Africa. So I think that we've had a panel on this in January of this year. And we wanted to follow up on that panel to see where it was as the world has gone through some crisis, and if global crisis has affected the progress in Africa. And the last panel we have is on climate solutions. This is going to be led by Nicole Enslin, and Nicole is going to be joined by Christian Schmidt and others who are going to talk about the top climate solutions, companies that have been awarded for creating amazing technologies and solutions to mitigate climate change. And this panel will explore a little bit further, again with the focus on how impact can become profitable and how these companies can become investable for investors with a defined return on investment. So and then we'll have a brief closing. What you will notice this time is a slight change in our programming, whereas the panels are going to be 45 minutes long as opposed to 30 minutes, and we will take 15 minutes after that to deconstruct the panel, to understand what we learned from it, to clarify how people can get involved and what the purpose of the panel was. And I think that this will hopefully help all our viewers to be able to understand a little bit more and have the opportunity to see that the panel is not just there for people to talk about, but there is actually a point to the panel, and that there is action that can be taken directly from this panel. So I'll turn it over back to Anika and Sam. Any thoughts on this?
Yes, thank you, Anand. I think this new structure of the panels will allow us to slow down and actually recognize the actionable insights by the experts we bring into the panels. Right, this is something similar we did with the Davos Worldwide in person at UCLA. We took time in between each of the speakers for people to actually mingle and discuss and walk up to the speakers and so forth. So this new structure is something I'm very excited about to see take place.
I also like the element of trying to connect people that are on panels. We've seen this at the Digital Davos in January, when it was Digital Davos in a different iteration, where people after the panels connected with each other to bring their solution to some of the other panelists' solutions, and then create additional ways of helping the world impact some of these ideas, which really worked beautifully.
Yeah, and I just also wanted to briefly mention some of the think tanks that we have created around the world. Specifically, again, since we focused so much on sickle cell for the past year, we have created a sickle cell physical think tank here in Los Angeles with a corresponding think tank in India. And we are now forming one for the GCC for the Gulf region and as well as one for Africa. So we feel that that'll be something interesting. Let me take this opportunity to introduce you to somebody who I find is one of the top thought leaders around the world, Dr. Sangeet Verghese. He is based out of India. And Sangeet, if you would be so kind as to give a little bit about yourself, and we'd love to hear about your thoughts on Davos Worldwide.
Thank you very much, Anand. It is always quite embarrassing to talk about oneself, right? Nevertheless, let me give it a try. Hi, Anika. How are you doing? You doing all right?
I'm unmuting myself quickly. Yes, I'm fine. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Glad to see you. Samuel, I hope you are doing all right.
Yes, fantastic. Glad
Fantastic.
to see
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. Jay, hi. And Anand, of course, hi. Right. I research on leadership. I went to Harvard and London School of Economics. I write on leadership, so I've written a few books. I also have been associated with the World Economic Forum for quite a few years right now. And I serve on the board of a few companies. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Of course, you've written a few books which are quite interesting. We've focused on a couple, and I think that we've had a lot to learn from you, Sangeet. And I think that the world is a better place for having you and thought leaders such as you that are genuinely looking at making global impact. So thank you again for joining and for being part of Davos Worldwide. We are privileged to have every one of us. Just to kind of circle back to Sam and Anika, Sam is a professor at UCLA. For those of you who are new to our community, and has in quant economics, but is one of the most brightest minds in deep tech, leading the LA deep tech scene. And is mentoring multiple companies as well as a fund manager. So, you know, as you can see, while he's on vacation, you know, he's up and about. So he's never sleeping. And Anika, of course, is a prolific filmmaker, a very, very accomplished individual with broad expertise for everything from being a newscaster to movies to now her next step in creating relevant content. And Anika, of course, is highly educated, a Fulbright scholar, and somebody that we value deeply at Davos Worldwide, and I think our community has come to love as well. So with that, I'm going to ask that we switch over to our first panel, and that is going to be a global impact panel, and this is specifically on sickle cell anemia elimination mission that India has launched. So before we switch over, Sangeet, any thoughts on the sickle cell issue and the focus that has come from Honorable Prime Minister Modi and his team on such a a challenging issue?
Thank you, Anand, for focusing on this very important issue. In fact, as you would already be aware, the rest of the team, part of the sickle cell anemia, anemia as an illness is primarily found in the developing nations, primarily found in the tropical regions of whether it is in Africa, whether it is in India. And India, fortunately, we have got a reinvigorated focus on eliminating sickle cell anemia and ensuring that the right kind of medication, the right kind of approaches are being taken. And thanks to Anand and thanks to the collaborative work which Anand has brought forward in this regard.
Well, thank you very much, Sangeet. So hopefully we'll see you through the program, and you are, of course, we are hoping that you can join us for panel deconstruction, which is a new element to our programming so that we can make sense of what we actually talked about. With that, I'd like to switch over to our first panel, and thank you everyone for joining.